Hello and welcome to another cryptocurrency update. Today's date is that of the 29th day of August 2019. And all bets trades of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. I'm going to go over Bitcoin and go over, just go over some statistics or some situations. Really, I guess you could call it algorithms more than anything. And I'm trying to find situations where it's good to sell Bitcoin. I thought of one and it was actually a good situation to buy Bitcoin. We'll go over that after this as well. Buy low, sell high. I'm just going to take a couple of coins and just show you a quick way of how you can use stuff like this on TradingView and show how it's going to work. Now, within Bitcoin price action, 94.75, leaving the 18 average of lows in yesterday's session, and a little bit of continuation as it's going through this. Yet another test of this lower at the end. It's like number 5, 6, however you want to count it. I mentioned things about symmetricalness. Well, that's totally out the window now, as all of these, at least for this time frame or this view here, there's definitely other symmetrical. There's definitely uptrend lines still intact, but all of this has been in a downtrend, and of course, any of these uptrends are breaking. And what I mean by there's still symmetricalness, I mean this uptrend, and it's obviously still active, and that's not where it's drawn in, but I mean somewhere maybe around the low 7,000 or something what connects this little area would still be in place. Now what I did is I looked at my old files that I had, and I had on February the 18th, 2017, uh, a good data sample size of the hourly time frame for Bitcoin, a little over 1 year, and it wouldn't take me. I could get data for post after this as well. February 17th was the date, actually, not the 18th. But from December 31st, 2015, price was $425, and on the 17th of February 2017, it was 1,052, going up about 2.5x. And on average, that was about 0.0108% per hour over the course of almost 10,000 hours, which is important because I was trying to come up with some data points. If a situation happens, how would the results work out? And one of the ones that I thought of for a situation to sell actually was a bullish situation, destroying the 0.01% per hour increase of what the average was. Because on 75 of these, our closing price action would have crossed above the 18 average of front weighted highs to the tune of the following formula, with H being front weighted average of highs and L for the average of lows. And that is 1 subtract high divided by low minus multiply 2 plus 1 multiply the high. Okay, what does that all mean? Well, we take the differential of the front weighted average highs and low prices. So that gets us the move. It gets us like 1.01. It's going to be 1 point something, but I don't want that 1 in it. I just want the decimal form. That's why the 1 minus 1 or the 1 minus is in that. So I want to get what that move is, but I want to double it. So if there's, say, a 1% differential on from the average of highs to the lows, I want a 2% move. And then I want to get that number back to over 1 again. So that's why I got the plus 1 at the end. So maybe 1.02, 1.03, whatever the differential from the highs to the lows is. Again, double that number with the 1, and then multiply it again by the high. And I also had to not have been above that situation for at least in the last 5 periods too. So over the 75 situation, there were 75 times in close to 10,000 hours that the situation came up. And if you bought at these points and sold 12 hours later, I calculated what the differential would be for 1, 2, 3, up to 12 hours. Oh, there was a big difference between 12 and 11 and 10. But it was an average of a 0.69% gain overall, which if you take 0.01% 12 times over, you're looking at about 0.14, 0.15 or something. So you obviously beat what the average was. And 45 times price action being higher, or you're winning 60% of the time. And again, we're looking at a situation where price leaves above the 18 average and is a noticeable amount above it. That's what this all means. So whatever the direction is, if you draw a line from the 18 average of highs and lows, I want double that line. So that's telling you if it gets just that much above it, that short term, it's actually not a bad buy. I also did a couple other calculations as well. One didn't come up with that great of results, and that is when the price of Bitcoin leaves the 18 average of highs after not being above it the five previous periods. Then how does it do? And the results, well, I can show you the results. They were not that nothing spectacular. Then I also did one too, which had nothing to do with the 18 average, but I took the log scale of the current price divided by the low over the last 2 days or 48 hours, whatever the lowest price was, divided by log of the highest price the day before and the lowest price the day before. And then I put it to the and then I just the number was like over two. It was similar to this, meaning if what you're saying here is that price action is noticeably above the previous day's range. That's what I'm trying to calculate within it. That was the whole point of the calculation. And when that happened, results were similar to this, but nowhere near as good. But they were very much in the same sort of ballpark. Because with the spreadsheet here, what I did is I got this is an old one. I just brought it up. We can see it starts at December the 31st at 0 hours on 2015. What this does is this calculates what the gain was for the day or for the hour. This was just to calculate the average at the end. So when I said what the average per hour was, that's how I got that calculation from. So this is all the stuff in here. So I made a whole bunch of different formulas to calculate different things. This is the 18 average of highs, lows, and closes, which was just copied and pasted from a different spreadsheet. And just a whole bunch of other different variables. But within it, these were how I did the results. This being the one where just leaving the 18 average of highs. And I only did this for 10 days. But as it goes, what this means was the average gains on here was lackluster. Pretty much right at one, even losing for that matter, which I found very interesting. It meant over one day, on average, or overall, if you were to bet, 389 situations this happened. If you were just to bet on Bitcoin as it leaves it and then sell the next hour, you'd be down in total 11%. If you did it 2 days later, you'd barely be profitable. 4.8%. Then 4% down. This is just wild how these change. But if you hold it longer, as we can see to day 9 and 10, it wasn't doing so well. And then the one I showed on the screen over that situation which occurred in here. Well, what I did was I calculated this is the gain for one day. So if you were to do that situation that I talked about, that made the gains, we can see 1.65. It gained 65% for 12 days, 57% for 11, 59 for 10, 44 on 9, 40, 43, 49% here. That might be a little bit of a decent value as well. But even for just 1 hour, you were making overall, you'd make 5.5% total over all 76 situations. And that's nothing too fantastic. It's actually just meh overall. But it is just showing a blind way of doing a particular thing. And the one that I just recently was talking about, in situations when it did well on the parameters that I stated to go above. Actually, I did decent like 1.618, which is the upside Fibonacci number, when it was above that number, the closing price on the log scale. And then I seen here after one day, a total 1.3%, and this goes to 10%. 10% here, 25, 28, 39, 31, 33, 37, 39, 39, and 48. So almost as good as the last one. This again was in that the situation of taking the previous day's high and low and having your price action significantly above where that high price is a day later. And yeah, so let's move on. And I want to talk about Fibonacci now because Litecoin's at a very big Fibonacci point at the mid $60 price. This is lines I put in a long time ago. There we have it. I put a line in at 126. It obviously pierced extra. This red line, I got a line in at 63.629. Right now it's at 63.643. Okay. We'll see what happens now that we're at this line. What does this line represent? Well, let's just do it this way. 3-day chart. I guess we still can't see it too well. Weekly chart. Okay, here we are. Okay, so we got this low of a couple dozen, maybe a little under it, 23. We have this high near 400. That number divided by that number, which would work out to about 17 or 18, to the root of, well, this would be 0.382, this would be 0.618, this would be 0.764. It obviously didn't hit the 76.4 number. And then multiply the low, which again is a little under 2 dozen or under 20, like 22, 23. And that's where we stand right now with price action. It came down to that point this morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it's just hanging in there. I mean, long term, we'll see what happens. Of course, last time, long term, when it came up to this point in here, it pierced it extra like normal. It did so on June the 10th. It stayed above it for 2.5 weeks until the 27th. Then it consolidated above it for the last time on June the 29th and 30th. And then it stayed near it but below it, piercing below it. Basically from June the 27th through that of July the 9th. A couple weeks there. Overall net time, June the 9th was the completion. Start was June the 10th, so a full month. And then, of course, leaving at that area on July 10th. It has just entered this today. Today's date is August the 29th. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Now, as far as the top gainers on here, there's nothing too fantastic. POA is up 17.69%. So what I want to do is I want to take an index cross, a ratio cross of something I've never seen before. I was thinking Wabi because Wabi is pretty volatile. So let's just take a look at that. This is 173. Wabi is 1245. So I like to have the higher price number first. So when we divide this together, we should get somewhere around 7 or 8 right now. So let's just go and POA. Okay, wow, look at that beautiful volatility. Oh wow. Interesting. Oh, interesting. Wow. Anyway, this is a daily chart. And what's up with the last couple of days? That is just wild. 7 2/3 up to 9 3/4. That's a differential gain of over 30%. 9 3/4 down to 7 1/4. Up to 7 1/4 to 9. Now back down to 7 1/4 again. And I mean, look at all the other ones before. This is an interesting ratio trade here. This low, this high, Even this little move in here. Overall, all these situations when you get stuff like that. This is a low of 6.5. This is a high of like 9.5. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to the hourly because I did this before with another one. I'm going for smaller moves than this, but it was probably well. You want to get better ones if you can. 10. Look at all this beautiful choppy action, though. Wow. Okay, we'll just start back in here. So say this is where you want to say I want to start trading this on the ratio. I want to talk about the 10% moves because they're just so easy to mathematically calculate. And to me, that's a good minimum number just to work with. You get a lot of trades at 10% moves. If you're entering in the ratio 7, well, what would happen is you probably have 7 times more POA than you would Wabi to start. So we'd be looking to sell like, well, what's 10% on top of this? Well, 70 cents. So somewhere around high $7 range. Like say maybe, so I'm going to put a line in that area. Like say 782. And on the way down, I want 70 down. Well, that'd be 630. Okay, somewhere in that area. Let's just put it around and there we have it. So what we'll do is wait to see which one it would go to first. But what I want to do in this game is I don't want to take any prices, any time frames that are between 21 hours and 7 do not count. You have to wait till 8 a.m. in that situation because that's just reality. So for example, here I need the closing price to be above or below at the line or extra, which this is 5 in the morning. So I wouldn't count this because say you'd be sleeping and then you wake up, you see it was there, you're like, no go. So then you just keep on waiting for the next trade to occur. And I mean, this is like June 26th. Now we're into July 1st. And here we have a close at 20 hours. So 5th of July, you would make a trade. And we'll just move the line into here. I'm just going to flip it like this. So now at the price point of 6.25, which is where you would have probably traded the ratio at. 10% above that's like 62, so that would be like 690, like almost 7 is where I'd want to sell. So somewhere around here. And on the way down at 6.25, well, we'll just subtract 60 from that. That would be like 540 or so, so maybe a bit below that. There we go. And then just wait and see that this happened at 2300 hours, which we're not counting. What happens at 8 o'clock? Right in here. But you would have got the trade at 11 a.m. So you would have got the trade right there at 7:04. So now a move lower, which would say 70 above. So we can go close to 8. That'd be like 774-ish or so. So I want to go a little higher than that, maybe 785. 70 subtracting this would be like 630 something. So 6 1/3, 6 3/5 in that area there. And then just wait for the price to hit its target. And this close was 9 a.m. So here's a spot where at this point in here you would have made the trade at around 626. So 60 above that number would be like 680 something. So high sixes would be an area where I'd be looking to make a sell. And then below this, well, if I subtract a little over 60 from this, that would be like 560 or so, so maybe a little bit below 5, around 5.5, right there, 553. And then just wait for the market to do its thing. Now, technically, I'm doing every close, so this one wouldn't have hit. This one here, well, that was at 0 hours. This one happened at 13, so the sell would have eventually came in right here at that 698 or so mark. So 770 is 10% higher. So we'll go 775. And 630 or so would be on the other end going lower. So we'll do 627. And then we can see we had some resistance up there, but no closes where we could have got that number. Not until this time at 11 o'clock. But this is cool when you want to trade at 775 and you end up getting 811 instead. So that's better. That's a better move. And on the way up, well, that would be 81 on top of that. So that's basically 9 now. So let's put that right around the 9 number. And then on the way down, we'll subtract 80 from this. That's like 730 or something. So 7 and a quarter maybe. Maybe a little lower than 730. There we go. 723 will work. And we will see that that 723 would hit at 9 o'clock in the morning here. And so that's just 723. Let's add 70 to it. A little more than that. That's well over 8. So like 802, even like 804, 805 maybe. 810 will do. And then on the way down from 723, that's like three quarters of 6.5 would be in the area. Maybe a little lower in the 640 something. There we go. Perfect. And then we wait for the next move. A lot of days go by. Like close. If you happen to be around, this is a spot where you should, if you're live around it and your notification bell goes off. Let's get real here. It's 1400 hours. If you happen to be, there's nothing stopping you at that time frame, and sometimes there could be. But if there's nothing stopping you, you get your alerts. That meant that you probably had some extra time in here, at least within that hour, maybe within the next we can see that the line came up, that you could have picked away and got the trade in at 810. And same thing here on the way down. I mean, look at the technicality on this one. Oh, here's the close. We're at like 6:49. Let's pass on it. Let's wait for the next hour. Okay. But technically, no trade has been done, and this happens at 1900 hours, so the sell would be taking place in here. Above this, we're talking pretty much 9, maybe a hair, small hair above. There we go. That's nice. And then from the way down, 80 off the 8, off this 812 number. That would be like 930, so 9 and a quarter even, or 7 and a quarter rather. 719 works for me. And we can see that would hit at 5 in the morning, August 12th. But I mean, I'm going to stop doing this from here on in. But you can just see moving forward if you're there at 1900 hours, 684, and then it goes up to 750, and so on and so forth. I don't want to make this video more than a half an hour. So let's just go over a few other quick things. And actually, I mean, this is where I just fast forward a little bit. This is what the it's been since August the 24th, or for 5 days. You can just see how wild these moves and measure the volatility. 7.5 up to like 9.5, down to 833. Just a lot of amazing possibilities. You can see there was times where you go like days and days and days without making a trade. And the amount of trades that you could have made in the last 5 days here is it's definitely not countless, or definitely not endless. Well, it is countless because I refuse to count. But there's definitely, it's a finite number, like 8, 9, or depending on your volatility, you can probably get 20 or 30 if you play short term. But definitely some good wild moves. 7.28 down here, and then 9.3 up there. 30%. That's how it goes. Now, Goat Chain, I've been thinking a lot. It just seems to have a lot of these up and down choppy moves. I mean, it does well with volatility against other coins. I'm not going to change anything up here. But I've been thinking a lot of just about its normal Bitcoin trade as it goes. As you can just see, with the size of a lot of these moves that we have here on the single hour term time frame, it wasn't that long ago. This was at 140. Now it's at 108. That's some good volatility. And then just on the way there, this stuff in here, like 17, 1800 hours, how it's able to go from like 130 down to 122. That's like a 6-7% decline, and then you can pick away at different prices, but it's doing this all the time. Up move here, 123 down to 109. Like this one here at 7 o'clock in the morning that goes up quick move. If you're able to, fast enough to sell at 118, well, it's already losing 20% just like that. Fast move. Some of these other moves, these 2 hours here, I've been seeing a lot of this, and I've been thinking for a while I probably should just be selling this against Bitcoin, and I don't, but still, nonetheless, 123 down to 100. This intraday move here, 1600 hours on August the 15th. You can just see a lot of stuff going on in here. I mean, this is just whatever, nothing too big, but the movements overall in the whole, and there has been a lot of other ones before this. We can see here, August the 2nd, a few of these hours where you're able to pick away and get really quick buybacks. And then it wasn't too long ago, this was 300. I mean, yeah, exactly. There's 300 back up here. So you get a lot of these wild moves along the way. But it can lose 3x just like that. And it can get the 3x move to the upside. It could go down, this could go down to 30. This could go up to 300-400. That's just the way the nature of this game. But as it goes, a lot of these coins are getting their asses kicked against Bitcoin. This is 12 or 13x down from this high back in 2018. And finishing this off with Bitcoin dominance. It's not letting go, and if anything, it's not only not letting go and holding in there really well, but it's showing a lot of good strength. This being the fourth, this day is almost over. It's 7:36. I'm doing this, so it's a completion of this day right now. At least it's pretty much 98% done. The day. What have we seen over the last 4 days? This is a strong setup here. This is not bearish. This, if anything, is quite the opposite. It's very bullish as I'm looking at this. Thus, seeing prices go up to these high or this number here and breaking it would not be a surprise. In fact, it looks like it's the probability. Yeah, at some point it's going to give in, but trying to guess at some point, sometimes you'll be right, sometimes you'll be wrong. This one, no. This one here, and this one here, no. This one here, no. This one here, I don't know, but probably no. But at one point they will be. And there's always going to be key highs, key lows, and that sort of thing. And there's been a lot of this up and down volatility as it goes. And just like you have a big move up, little move down. This has been a sustained down move, really, from this April of 2018 low here. It has been a sustained Bitcoin dominant run. And it's either it wins or it doesn't. Maybe Bitcoin dominance takes over and this goes back to the high and stays there, or we're going to have a move lower. Of course, I'm on the camp that, yeah, short term, maybe we will break this and go higher, which means altcoins will continue to do their declines against Bitcoin, and it could look nasty. But that's what happens in this high volatile sector when you talk about all these big X moves, 4X, 10X, 50X, and all that type of stuff. And yes, 100X to 1000X is not out of line, especially against the dollar. But uh, those moves do not get out of line on the large case scenarios amongst altcoins. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.